We've touched on law already in our discussions of politics and social control. Here, let's define law and then go into just a bit more detail on legal and judicial systems before turning to the interaction of globalization, regulation, and the state. Law is the highest level of social control, and legal punishments are usually reserved for the most serious breaches of norms. According to legal anthropologist E. Adamson Hobo, law involves the legitimate use of physical coercion. It allocates official authority to privileged people who are able to use coercion legitimately. It is based on regularity and a certain amount of predictability. Self-help or ad hoc legal systems operate to some degree in all societies and predominate in small-scale societies that do not have formal judicial institutions. Familial self-help involves actions and decisions that are executed by the families or larger kin groups involved. Mediation, which we've already discussed, adds a neutral third party who attempts to negotiate and resolve the dispute peacefully. When I was doing my dissertation fieldwork in Gabon, the village where I was staying called in the chief from another village to serve as a mediator in a village dispute they could not resolve on their own. This allowed them to avoid going to the government authorities in town, which would have meant more expense and possibly stiffer sanctions. Mediation courts seek to resolve disagreements without resorting to full-blown legal proceedings. They're based on the reasonable person model, which assumes that both sides are willing to compromise in the interest of reaching a resolution that's fair to both parties. The main goal of the mediator is to assist the parties to negotiate a settlement. Courts of regulation resolve disputes between litigants or between the state and defendants. In such courts, formal judges have the authority to hear cases and impose sanctions. Laws and sanctions are formally codified, but note that the US and British judicial systems rely heavily on case law and legal precedent as well as legal codes. Here, this table summarizes the various legal systems we've just touched on, including familial and mediated self-help, as well as mediation courts and regulation courts. Before we finish this module, let's look briefly at globalization in relation to legal and political systems. In the past 50 to 60 years, two divergent trends have weakened the power and authority of states. First, governmental control has become fragmented as the number of sovereign states has multiplied. And second, the emergence of the multinational corporation. Multinational corporations produce and market goods and services globally. Multinational corporations are predicated on the global economy and free trade. Each of these allow goods to be imported or exported between countries free from tax duties and quota limits. At the same time, some multinationals have become very wealthy and powerful, wealthier even than sovereign countries. The World Trade Organization, founded in 1995, is a powerful international legislative and judicial body that promotes global free trade by imposing sanctions on countries that raise import and export duties or impose regulations that hamper free trade. The WTO is controversial for a number of reasons. First, as WTO officials are not elected, the organization is criticized for being undemocratic. Critics also argue that it favors multinational corporations at the expense of local communities, working families, and the environment. Finally, the WTO is accused of weakening state sovereignty. The World Trade Organization, or WTO, founded in 1995, is a powerful international legislative and judicial body that promotes global free trade. The WTO has the capacity to impose sanctions on member countries that raise import and export duties or impose regulations that hamper free trade. In other words, it has power, legal power. The WTO is controversial for a number of reasons. First, as WTO officials are not elected, the organization is criticized for being undemocratic. Critics also argue that it favors multinational corporations at the expense of local communities, working families, and the environment. Finally, the WTO is accused of weakening state sovereignty by having the ability to impose sanctions on states. Finally, non-government organizations such as the World Wildlife Fund for Nature, or the WWF, seek to shape global, national, and local environmental policy. The WWF is the world's largest conservation organization and operates in over 100 countries. It seeks to stop the degradation of the planet's natural environment, promote biodiversity and sustainability, protect endangered species, and combat climate change. On one level, we can see the WWF as a global, non-state political organization that seeks to influence specific policies of nation-states while also operating hundreds of environmental projects within and across national boundaries.